Grand Rising, beautiful people. How are you feeling today? It's Monday. I hope you had a great weekend for the Dutchies. I hope you had like the King's Day that was working for you. I wanted to kind of address the topic of ego death this morning. Nice and light. So as you can see here, in the middle we have the self, and the self consists of the ego and the shadow. And usually the ego is the identity that we have formed from an early age by the upbringing in our families and by society, and that creates a persona which we completely usually identify with on an unconscious level. It's just who we think that we are, and it's portrayed to the outer world. So it's the outer world that is reflecting back to us what our persona is. But then that's what we portray to the outer world, okay? This is usually when we are just really busy living our lives, and we just, have our work, our activities, our families, our friends, and, your life is just like ongoing. Usually on a spiritual journey, there comes a moment, a time, an event that triggers you to go inward. So we have the inner world. And that situation or event will force you to go inward. And usually it's not by choice. Some people do it by choice. Some people feel like, hey, I need to travel. I need to go to this, ashram to meditate. But usually people don't really have a choice because of the rat race that most of us are on. And an event can trigger that. For example, the death of a person, losing your job, losing a relationship. It forces us to go inward, and that's where the shadow is, because in silence we can listen to our inner world better, which is not always the prettiest part. The shadow can teach us where the choices that we make in our daily lives, the way we present ourselves to the world, the desires we have, for example, for material things, for relationships, for validation, might be coming from an ego perspective. So the ego perspective is the ego is the one that is never satisfied. It's like never gonna be satisfied. So that's the characteristic of your ego. And so it will always crave for more. And it can, so coming to the ego death, what tends to happen when you are progressing on your spiritual journey, awakening journey, it might be that you experience an ego death or multiple ego deaths, where situations will trigger you into going inward, which sometimes literally means going in isolation, just moving away from friends, family, just because you feel overwhelmed, for example. Your body will indicate when you will go into a deeper layer of, awakening. And you can encounter a little piece of ego death. And this is not to say that the ego per se is a bad thing, because it's here for a reason. It also brings us a sense of just identity in the world, which can also be a positive thing. But when it's unconscious, when you're unconsciously in your ego, that can have you be unconscious of your ego, and anywhere where you're unconscious, there is no growth. So when you make the unconscious conscious, you're able to grow on a soul level. All right. So when you experience ego death, for example, you can be very triggered by something that a person says, or maybe even triggered by another person. And you may at that point ask yourself, why am I so triggered? And what is this person or situation mirroring back to me? Something that I dislike about that person may reflect something that you dislike about yourself, or that you are rejecting of yourself. So ego deaths are definitely not it's not like a fun activity or something. Like, I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it, but it does have a benefit of when you move through it, and when you can kind of, dissolve a little bit of that unconscious ego persona. It does help you to reveal the authentic and the real you, so to say, and that can give you a sense of freedom and relief and joy and freedom. Did I say freedom? Yes. So this is a little bit of the basics that I have kind of learned from my spiritual journey, and I thought I'd share it here. Let me know if you like, this type of, content, and also let me know if you have any questions on this, and where you are in your spiritual journey, in your spiritual awakening, and if you have encountered, ego deaths and what it has brought you. Feel free to comment down below. And let me know if you would like more content about, stages in the spiritual awakening. And then I may share more. Thank you so much for listening, and have a great week.